Welcome to Gatorade, an OpinionRoute show to help market research professionals learn and grow. In this podcast, we share stories, insights, and philosophies that unlock enterprise value for the modern market research company. Here's our host, CEO and founder, Terrence McCarran.
I'm excited for you to get to know Gavin Wills. Gavin is our Vice President of Technology here at OpinionRoute, and he oversees, I think, one of the coolest aspects of our company, which is our Irish office in Cork, Ireland. So in this episode, we're going to get into a little bit about Gavin's career before OpinionRoute. He's been with us 5 years now. A little bit about Cork and the office there and how it runs. And then we dig into some of the thinking and how Gavin executes building and maintaining a technology stack that's really pretty diverse and pretty eclectic in that it's trying to accomplish very different things all at the same time. And then before we wrap up, we're going to dig into AI. Gavin, I love hearing him talk about AI and how he breaks it down into components and how he really sees it fitting, not within just our technology, but the industry overall. So I hope you enjoy this. Awesome to have you. So let's just dig in. You're one of the hidden gems, I think, in terms of market's awareness of OpinionRoute and the people here. You're one of our secret weapons behind the scenes, making a lot of the magic work. But why don't we just get started learning a little bit more about you? Why don't you just start with your background and your career evolution before you joined OpinionRoute?
Yeah, sure, Terrence. So I've been in IT for almost 25 years, so this might take a little bit of time, but I'll try to get through it. I suppose I started my career in telecoms, and when I was there, I was working on a large platform processing SMS text messages, and the majority of text messages around the world at the time. And this was early 2000s where it was really exploding, so there was massive scale going on there. And then, like, fresh out of college, you know, when you're writing code and you see it being used like at that scale, it's very exciting, you know. And 20 plus years on, people might be surprised to know that like SMS text messages is still one of the most used forms of communication. It's a little bit different when I was working on it. It was, you know, personal messages, regular kind of text messages. Now it's very much used for like B2C messaging. Very popular actually in marketing. I think the read rate, because it's so high, like the read rate is estimated in the high 90 percentile. It's very popular for marketing. Yeah, so hopefully the code, like I wrote back then, is still like powering some of this technology that's being used today. Then after about 2 years there, the company actually closed the Ireland office. They were doing restructuring. There was like a merger in the works. So they closed the office. I was still kind of young at the time, so, you know, I wasn't too upset about it. It was actually a good opportunity for me. My boss at the time reached out to me and asked me that I want to do a kind of a prototype startup project with him. So it was my first real taste of this like startup environment. And we developed an early stage phone backup system. This was kind of before smartphones were prevalent. It was hard to kind of get access to your phone data. And that's kind of, I suppose, what the downfall was. There just wasn't enough phones in the market that supported that technology yet. So ultimately, it wasn't a success, but the prototype and the experience I got from it was really, really good. And at the same time, I was also doing a bit of contracting work. And at that time, I moved into contracting for one of the largest banks in Ireland. So I moved into the finance sector. And what started there as like a 6-month contract turned into be like 6 years of continuous projects, different initiatives within the bank. But predominantly, I suppose, when I was there, I worked on their online banking infrastructure. So, you know, the servers and the firewalls and the load balancers behind their online banking system, and also developing a lot of like internal applications that were used by staff. So I was there for, like I said, maybe 5-6 years. And then in 2008, I moved to a startup company in Cork called Screen Dragon. They were developing at the time this kind of workflow project management system specifically for marketers and agencies. And, you know, I started there as maybe one of the initial team members. So it was really exciting, again, this kind of like early stage of growth, seeing the company evolve, the product grow. And today, I guess that company has 70 to 80 staff. They recently announced private investment and plans to scale even further. And a lot of the problems, Terrence, that we were looking at then, so a lot of the problems we dealing with would resonate with what's happening in market research now. There's definitely a lot of parallels there. So there was a lot of clients had issues with like complex processes or workflows, difficulty collaborating, you know, managing resources or etc. All these kinds of things. And they reached out to technology to solve those problems and to remove that kind of day-to-day friction of doing their job. And I do see a lot of that friction still exists in the market research world. And I suppose that's what, when I came here, so, you know, came to OpinionRoute to lead the technology effort and hopefully like build something that can remove that friction and do what all products drive to do, And that's like making like complex systems simple.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. There's a thing I've always believed in the market research industry is a lot of things that happen on the marketing side tend to follow into market research maybe a few years later. So yeah, 5 years ago, you might have been kind of ahead of the game of our industry. And I think we've seen that time and time again in your tenure here, which has been amazing. So yeah, let's just talk about, I'll just set up a little bit that obviously you're in Ireland, you're in our Cork office, running that office for us and our development team. I'd love to just learn a little bit more, share a little bit more with the listeners. Tell us about Cork, paint a mental picture for us, and tell us about the team and where you guys work and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely, Terence. And I know maybe a couple of months ago, the team here done like a company-wide presentation for everybody in the US about, the culture here and what we work on. And I think that was very well received at the time. So I'll take some bits from that about life over this side of the pond. So like you said, our team is based in Cork in Ireland. It's a lovely city just on the south coast. It's got two great universities. So in terms of technology base, it's an ideal location. And then we work from a co-working space. So it's called Republic of Work. We have a dedicated area, and it's really, for us, it's a great place to base the office. They organize lots of external speakers coming in. They do like kind of events and social activities. So there's really a kind of good culture here, a good kind of vibrant atmosphere here. And then another thing that they are interested in here, and it's kind of with both private companies or with like state-run programs, they do a lot of like incubator or kind of like supporting like accelerator programs. So day to day, like we meet lots of different companies and people at different stages of their progression as a company. And like that's always very interesting to kind of like talk to those people and hear their stories about how they got where they got. And then another great thing about this office is we have facilities like this. So this podcast studio, literally like downstairs from where my desk is, I can just pop in here, the lighting, set the microphone, and I'm good to go. From the team's point of view, I suppose the Cork team, the Cork office, does everything to do with the technology. Talking about the infrastructure, all the cloud services, the full like software development life cycles, that's the coding, the testing, deployments, and obviously supporting afterwards. And then I suppose the other final part of what we do is working a lot with you guys in the US on the business side, planning out the roadmap, looking at requirements, and seeing what next feature is going to make the most sense for the platform.
No, absolutely. And for us, this was a big moment in time when we added the Irish office and hired you up and ultimately committed to building a team there. We had used a lot of my industry friends or resources here in Ohio, kind of build things piecemeal on the way. So it was a huge leap for us and growth moment as a business to make that commitment internally. And it's dramatically accelerated our pace of development, which has been a huge benefit. So you and I talk a lot about how there's two very different things we do on the technology side, but let's stay with our core Navigator platform, which I loved hearing your past experiences at Screen Dragon and how relevant they've been as we're tackling some similar, what it sounds like similar problems in the market research industry. So I guess I'll just start here. You have more experience in this space than a lot of people in our industry. And now you see 5 years into it, evolving quite dramatically, the Navigator platform. What are you particularly proud that we really nailed, that we really got right over the last 5 years in evolving the platform?
Yeah, sure. I think, I guess my help was like having that clear vision from the start was crucial. What we excel at doing is having that clear vision, but also listening to keeping customers in mind. So listening to their feedback, iterating through any kind of changes. From a development point of view, we use what's called like the agile methodology. So we can pivot pretty easily as different requirements come in. So I think that's one of the core strengths is keeping that like customer laser focus on what the customer really needs. Additionally, I suppose what helps us on that focus is that we use the platform internally ourselves. So we can see day to day the impact those changes are having, the improvements in the processes that we're able to gain from it. So I think we have that background and benefit to really help us develop the platform. So like, for example, I suppose last year we rolled out like survey testing platform or a survey testing portal, which we developed a custom browser extension. So it taps directly into your existing survey tools, but it really streamlines that process. So what might be currently a process of, Excel spreadsheets, like emails back and forth, like no real clear audit trail of change requests or errors or issues or any of that kind of stuff has totally been transformed. Integrated directly into Navigator and people's existing survey tools. So products like that and looking at innovations like that really extends Navigator into a place where all market research work can be done, not just focused on one area. And as we develop more and more functionality and get more breadth of functionality within it, I think it's going to be the place where all market research gets done.
Yeah, that's been the fun part for me is like there's two dynamics that have played out. First of all, like you, I got 25 years experience, but it's really all been in market research. So part of some of the originating ideas came from just having listened to people for years talk about the things they wish they could improve or they wish could happen easier, smoother, or just better overall. So, but our process of, call it UX research, right? Connecting with the researchers, testing out some ideas and solutions. The fun part for me, just over the last year, as the Navigator's really been in the market, is just showing everybody, right? And it almost, there's this reaction as a result of like, wow, I thought this was a new thing, but it really is deep. It's evolved. The breadth, like you mentioned, is really wide. And it seems so novel, but so absolutely like just perfect for the way they think, the way they need to work every day. And that's not a mistake. I think you bring up important points. I think it's because of our intensity, but just really intention of listening to what's going on and genuinely try and brainstorm solutions. And for me, that's been kind of fun. And it's been one of my favorite parts of working with you has been being able to kind of co-create on some of these micro concepts along the way. It's been a lot of fun. So, that's the Navigator platform, which is sort of the enterprise overall platform. But for years, we've been helping researchers improve their data quality with technology. And so we have this whole other suite of data quality technologies. And I'd love to hear just from your perspective on the tech side, how different are those two things and the approach that your team takes?
Yeah, very different, Terence. They're very different. Like when I talked about Navigator earlier, I emphasized this kind of customer focus, building, like taking that feedback and really like evolving the product that way. With the quality tools, it's totally different. So we have to make data-driven decisions. So we gather a lot of data, and all the future functionality is based off what we're seeing in the data and what makes the most sense for the quality. The technology behind the scenes is also totally different. So Navigator, I guess, would be seen more of as like a SaaS product. People would be familiar with that kind of model. But with the quality stuff, the traffic is so much higher. We have a lot more transactions. The scale is so much bigger. We utilize microservices so to handle that scale, a total different data structure to handle again, so we can scale up and take as many transactions that comes our way. So the technology side is totally different as well. And then we have that, I suppose, additional challenge of, okay, but we want these things to live together, work well together. So within Navigator itself, all that data quality, all that other data structure we have needs to play ball. Like it needs to be on our dashboards. We need to give that data to our clients, either for raw downloads or nice evolving dashboards that we're working on. So they definitely combine themselves with the dashboards, but in terms of how we're developing them in the background, they're totally different. And for our team, that's great, because it's you're working on different technologies. On our cloud platform, we use so many different services for depending what's best for that situation. So to get that wide experience to work on these different types of products, it just makes the job more exciting for everybody.
Yeah, I would imagine, just like you articulated in your career path, anytime you get a chance to work on something really new and have diversity of work, that's got to be great for the team, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to dig in a little bit. You kind of set up another topic I wanted to talk about really well, which is this concept of data that's created from our platform. And, certainly you referenced the data quality technology so that we can make data-driven decisions. But I think more and more our clients are seeing that emerge in their usage of the Navigator in their work. And to me, this has been a funny concept that's been a little challenging, I think, at the beginning until clients get deeper into using the Navigator. And then there's like a light that goes off at how much value the data, not from the surveys, but data generated from their work platform can actually aid everything from making sure you don't burn out talent to helping teammates pick up each other if someone's got to be out for a day or a week. And then just analyzing even things like vendor performance and just overall what seems stuck on projects across the board. So I'd love to hear just a little bit your 2 cents about data emanating from the system, the accessibility, which you kind of just set up from a Navigator standpoint as well.
Yeah, I think I touched on some of the points, but I suppose, there's that famous saying that data is the new oil. So like obviously there's value in data and everybody is very aware of that. And I guess everybody in market research should definitely be aware of that. Insights is kind of a word that you'd be very familiar with. But like you alluded to, Terence, the insights you can garner from the information Navigator is quite different. So we're gathering a lot of information. So the participant data, the quality data, the project, the PMO kind of application data. And from all that information, and like I mentioned, all that data points will help your business make informed decisions that will just improve your operations, improve your bottom line. So I think people who are so familiar with insights as a concept, the quality of data, should really look at their own processes and see what data am I gathering that will help me make informed decisions.
Yeah, I think that's Maya, as you well know, but of course, the reason why we've made investment in building out all this technology for market research companies is because I believe that just deeper understanding of how they work is sort of the next scale opportunity for market research agencies as a business model. And then all the fun add-ons that can come in through that, right? Third-party technologies, streamlining, connecting with other systems they already use. But also a major topic in tech, but certainly in our world as well, is this concept of AI. I'd love to chat about that for a minute. I think we're in a moment now where use cases are being experimented with. There's a surge of new companies with AI in their name, even in the insights industry, market research industry overall. I think our philosophy as a company is I'll just share to everyone listening, is that AI is a potential great co-pilot, great efficiency tool for the individual talent across the team. And so we have started making investments across the board. One is a new release that's coming out to aid and streamline data cleaning here in July. But I know you within your team are playing with AI as well to bring efficiency and to accelerate the work on the development side. I'd love to hear a little bit about your sense of AI, your understanding of AI, and then how you see it helping us.
Yeah, so there's definitely two sides to that. It's like, how we're using AI to improve ourselves and our processes, but also what we're bringing into the product and Navigator to help our clients. So internally, I think a lot of the talk about AI is really coming from the foundation models and the large language models that really exploded last year. And for a lot of people, when they interact with ChatGPT or something like that, that might have been their first direct experience with an AI, so their first kind of outing with it. I think in OpinionRoute, it's a little bit different. So we've been using AI, more specifically machine learning version of AI, for a couple of years through the ID suite, the Clean ID in particular. So that's looking at historical data, looking for, anomaly detection, patterns, and AI is perfect for that. And I think that's probably the struggle for a lot of people when they're looking at adding AI to their own product. It's really identifying where it makes sense and not just using AI for AI's sake. Pattern matching, anomaly detection, perfect. So for fraud prevention, it's a no-brainer. We're also kind of lucky enough that you mentioned the launch of the QC Flow, which is the open-end analysis tool. We were lucky enough that also kind of made sense to use AI. But in this situation, we did use a large language model. So that model is doing the analysis of the open end for us. We combine that data with our pre-field or in-field data, and ultimately, we have a full end-to-end suite now on data quality. So I think picking the right time for the right AI technology is crucial, and not just, like I said, using it because you hear, we should be using AI. I think that's more of a mentality you should have with how you can use AI to assist you. So everybody probably has done content generation with ChatGPT. That's such a low-hanging fruit. That's so easy to do. It saves a lot of time. And, everybody should be looking to do that to save kind of, increase capacity for other jobs. But also for us, as developers, we use an AI assistant. So we know a kind of a tool to help us write better code and quicker code. And we're seeing massive improvements in what we're turning around since we've deployed that. And I think as more and more products are leveraging, these models are so accessible now. So as more and more products are using them, people should always be looking at what product out there will help me evolve as a company or, improve my performance. Yeah. And those models, they're releasing them so quickly. Even last week, we updated a model that we're using. It's already faster, it's cheaper, and it's given us better results than the previous model. And, this is only within a few months. So what we're doing today with AI and the large language models is going to be totally different to what we're able to do 6 months, a year from now. So it's a constantly changing landscape.
Yeah, and that constant change is also, I think, part of why we're still in a bit of experiment mode, right? Because sometimes as these models evolve, it dramatically changes literally how it goes about delivering what its intended purpose is. So, yeah, I think we're still very much in the early days. I heard this compared that AI is sort of like the internet in the late 90s. Everyone knows it's going to be something big, but we're still figuring out the best use cases for different applications. And for us, I've loved the ability to just bring efficiency and more horsepower to our development. And I love what it can be on data cleaning side for our clients through the Navigator. So yeah, I'm pretty thrilled with that. So I guess looking at the industry, I want to sort of build out a little bit from just an opinion route focus. Kayla, in her previous episode, coming from outside the industry, and you've been with us a few years now, but still you didn't build your career in market research. But Kayla made a point that her biggest moment coming into research excitement was that she saw so many unrealized opportunities just across the landscape. And that was part of her excitement jumping in. I'd love to hear from your perspective. Do you share that sentiment? Do you kind of look at market research through this, wow, there's so many things that can be done here? Or do you see it more as, I think my orientation toward is like a very mature industry and it still tries to navigate change cycles a bit? So what's your perspective with still some fresh perspective from other industries?
Yeah, so like I suppose when I started, like I had come, as we mentioned, I was 10 years in that like marketing industry. So we was used to dealing with big brands and big agencies, and I was very aware of like what market research was, but kind of like from the outside, I guess, not peeking behind the curtain yet. So once I started in OpinionRoute, I realized that it's quite a nuanced and complex ecosystem you've got going on. Like there's a lot of moving parts. You've got like DIY tools and APIs and all this kind of like link security and hashing and like a lot of words of that. Then you've multiple sample providers, you different survey tools. So it's a lot for a market researcher to juggle. Like it's a lot going on. So I think when you're looking for a technology platform to streamline stuff, it should really be, how do I coordinate all these different technologies that require their own kind of learning curve or whatever into like a consolidated, simple platform. And that's why I suppose we view Navigator as that kind of a platform where we coordinate all this stuff. And we're not locking people to a particular sample provider. Like the choice is always with the client. We just facilitate that flow of traffic and that flow to their project. So I think that's kind of key. If somebody is looking to expand a little bit more into technology, to not to go down a route where like what they can offer is being limited, but more actually expands their choice. So with Navigator, like we're expanding people's choices by, for example, I mentioned like the hashing and the webhook setups. Like that's complicated enough. We have that now integrated into Navigator. There's a nice UI to set that up. You only need to set it up once on your survey, whereas you can then have multiple sample providers behind the scenes. So even that alone just saves that headache for the market researcher, And I think if anything can make your life easier, that you can focus on your core job, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that frontier of technology and upgrading that is sometimes scary, right? Our core market research client is throwing everything they have from an operating budget into client support, right? They invest deeply in the client relationship. And so their team is really where most of their operating budget goes.
There might be a fear as well. It's like I mentioned this complex ecosystem, and then we're saying, oh, well, here's another tool. Here's another tool that you should use. And I've already learned it. So like, I suppose people be able to like look at it in a more helicopter view and say, well, this tool makes all the other tools easier, then it's worth it,
Yeah. And it also opens up the opportunity to effectively experiment with a new tool that may be interesting, but it's so disruptive otherwise to your process, right?
And like the market research industry obviously will change as well. So there might be new technologies or new innovations that people need to use in the future. And it might be hard to get onboarded with that if you weren't using the platform. So if something new comes down the line and, it's really hot in the market research industry, we'll integrate that into Navigator. We'll make it easy for people to use. So you just have this one platform that handles that complexity behind the scenes. And that's something I suppose you've always talked about when you talk about Navigator as like an operating system or a platform. That's really the place where, eventually all those jobs can be done in the one place.
Yeah. Kind of like AI, right? It's a way to dabble in AI. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I always wrap up the podcast, Gavin. I'd love for you to share, what do you love most about your job every day?
Yeah, I suppose the best thing, I guess, is the momentum. So we're constantly evolving, constantly changing. I mentioned QC Flow earlier. So being able to like have a LLM product out so soon after, they kind of become available. So always kind of staying cutting edge, looking at what's around the corner. That makes it very exciting. So I definitely love that about the job, and the whole team would back me up. That's what they like about working with OpinionRoute. It's like always kind of new technology. And of course, I have listened to the previous podcasts, and I know I have to give a shout out to the team. So obviously, working with the team is brilliant. The team here in Cork, they do outstanding work. I love working with them. And obviously working with you guys in the US, we have daily meetings or, a couple of meetings a week. So I do feel kind of connected. But I love when a couple of weeks ago, I was over in Cleveland. It's great, when I'm over on site and we get to go out and kind of catch up. So definitely, the team and I suppose the momentum and the technology we're working with are the main things.
Yeah, love it. Gavin, this has been awesome. Thank you.
No problem, Terence. Thanks for having me.